them my respect. I will tell you, every time the high school has passed the hoops from No Child Left Behind, I have honestly been over in my room, and I'm fairly devout, and I've been saying thank God for middle school, because we would not be passing as a high school if you guys were not doing such a good job here. So that is true, and it's partly also embarrassing to be here because I know there are people in this room who could teach this better than I can, but I think the idea was to have a change of scenery, so sorry about that, but that's, I think, why I'm here. I am really happy to be here because the students writing is my big passion, and that is the reason I'm still teaching. And I think any of you who've taught for more than 5 years know that you just are not going to make it if there's not a passion there. And so the writing really is my passion, and I'm happy to be there. And I do use the sixth trait and have used the sixth trait now since it got introduced to me when I came back to teaching in 1993. But I've used it all that time, and I really do love it. Now, partly, a couple things I wanted to let you know is, one is you guys are way ahead of the high school, kind of as usual, I think. I was reading this paper about helping high schools meet higher standards, and it said the school has to have an infrastructure for literacy improvement, and all teachers have to be on board with that, and then each teacher has to have a sense of efficacy and feel ownership over their literary improvement efforts. And the first two is obviously you've got, since you have me here, you're on that. The third one I think is why you're here is that maybe I can help you see how you can kind of tailor the 6 traits to your particular discipline. And I haven't known how to set this up because I wanted to be back by this day. I wanted to be able to see you all. So, okay. Now, I was going to show you two here. Just last summer, Beth asked me to do this, and things kind of came up as I was, during the summer. There was this article from George Will in the paper here about upward mobility essential for U.S. prosperity. And right here in the middle, he said, modernity, education-based, I'm going the wrong direction, education-based complexity intensifies the demands on mental abilities. People invest increasingly in human capital, especially education, because status and achievement increasingly depend on possession of the right knowledge. Lindsay Sykes' research showing that by the time they reach age 3, children of professional parents have heard some 45 million words addressed to them, as opposed to only 26 million words for working class kids and a mere 13 million words in the case of kids on welfare. So class distinctions in vocabularies are already large among toddlers. And I know many of you have read that book on Ruby Payne. I really do see that having words is what provides people power, and is what allows people to move across social structures. If people got words, and I tell my students, I really do think words are the key to power, and each of you in your own discipline knows that you would not be able to move your students on if it were not your knowledge of how to use words and how to help them be able to use those words too. And then there was an article just below that in the paper by Thomas Friedman that was talking about Aragon having power but little moral authority, and he was looking at the Egyptian uprising. And over, where I've got words in yellow here, he was talking about the Egyptians moving with their ability because of words that they were putting out on Twitter and Facebook, and that it was words that were causing and allowing change to happen. So I do think words are power, and I do want to help you all. I mean, I'm going to tell you within the time frame, because that I will try to be speedy because there's too much I could say, and so having a time limit is very helpful. So we'll get out of here. Okay. Now, what I also did want Well, and this ties to the George Will thing. This was a white paper that Ingrid Logan gave me by Stephen Brand. And he says, the ability to communicate has become a gatekeeper for full participation in economic and social life. So again, we're looking at Ruby and Payne, and we're looking at people being able to move, and the key is language. The key is words. Okay, now, you've got out on your desk there a version of the 6 traits. And there are lots of different versions. It's not that there is any one that's correct. At the high school, the students are made to buy a Writer's Ink. That Writer's Ink has the 6 traits in it. So lots of you may have versions you like better. This is the version that I prefer. And in the 6 traits, we're grading for ideas, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, and conventions. And if you are new to this, some of those words are going to be strange. Like I remember when I was first taught that voice. What's voice? Okay. On the 6-trait model, students get scored. A 5 would mean excellent, which does not mean perfect. It just means really good. And then one can have a 4, one can even have a 4-5 or a 4.5. A 3 would be adequate. They're going to survive in the world. A 1 would be like a beginning writer. And the other thing that I meant to say right off the bat, I will tell you that I think this group of students this year at the 9th grade is probably the strongest set of writers I've seen. So whatever y'all are doing, as usual, you're doing really well because things are just getting better here, like what I see coming to the 9th grade. Okay, for ideas, what we're looking for is if the ideas are focused and clear. Are they on one thing? And then we're looking for a controlling idea or a thesis. What one thing do I want my reader to know? Then is there so much detail that they proved that one can't disagree because they've got so much information in there. On the other hand, is the writer selective? Has the writer put in everything and then way too much else? Or have they chosen just what they need? Has the writer shown insight? And by that, we mean, have we learned something that we didn't know before? Have they given us some deeper meaning? And I don't know why I got the typeface wrong. I thought I had fixed that. Writes from experience should be the same size as everything else. The one thing I have the students highlight when I'm going over this with the students, I have them highlight, and I say the only thing I'm going to have you highlight out of the whole thing is that controlling idea. Put stars, whatever. Writes from experience, I will say, doesn't matter if you're trying to tell a fairy tale, that's fine, but have you given us so much information that it feels real? It feels like the mice really can talk to Cinderella. And then by integrity, I explain that this is not the integrity where we're looking at whether or not we can trust someone. This is the kind of integrity that would have to do with integers where something is whole to itself. Now, what I would like for you to do next here, I think would be speediest for your time. I'd like for you to, if you're willing, I mean this is kind of the only way it's going to work, is for you to read this first article. And actually you may want to write on these what I really want you to read here. Then if you'll turn the page behind that, I'd like for you to read just the first 2 paragraphs on the Gandhi paper. And then if you'll turn the page, I'd like for you to read the first 2 paragraphs on Moctezuma. So if you'd read the first page, and then for the next 2 essays, just read the 2 paragraphs, the first 2 paragraphs. And then we'll start kind of applying the rubric to these pieces of writing. So you might just kind of wave at me when you've got those read so that I can know I should move on here.
If you don't have those, raise your hand and get you some copies.
Everyone have copies?
Well, we just gonna use waiver.
You're on there.
Maybe it, go ahead and take that one.
Oh, here's a single one. Yeah. He's so.
And that's just.
And his name tags.
I'm writing.